Hello guys, Bashar here. We are together with another build video. That's what you guys like the most. My other guys are not really doing very well. So I wanted to share with you another build. So you might recall that I leveled with a gas arrow build, right? I did a little bit of endgame, noticed that it was falling short. Then I switched into the three dragons lightning fire hybrid crossbow build. That was also not very ideal in terms of having to wear the three dragons, explosive rounds, needing very quick reloads. That was a huge downtime, so I finally converted into a evasion energy shield hybrid. That's for defensive measures. Pure lightning Deadeye, right? That's the final build. So guys, I think we should establish a bit of a tradition here. It appears that I will be doing some build guides every once and then. And for the build guides, I think it's a good idea for me to mention some tier. Of course, this would be my personal opinion, but I do play a lot. I see a lot of people. It wouldn't be very far off from reality. I will very unprofessionally trade with my apologies. If the guy takes too long, I'll just cancel it. So what does he want? He wants this one, okay. So guys, the build tier, I would place this one into A tier, right? It's a pretty good build, mobile, right? Very mobile actually. Survivability, I would say probably medium level, and damage, also very good. So what would I put in S tier? I would put lightning spear in S tier because extreme mobility, low slash medium survivability, and very high damage and clear speed. So that's what I would put there. So and why am I not playing that one but this one? So the thing is, guys, as I said, I played with the explosive rounds, crossbow, so I was already invested in the crossbow, so I improved that build a little. And if you would recall, that was a pure evasion build, and I told you how short it falls in the end game because you fail to dodge once and you can die. So we can, as you can see now, we have a considerable amount of energy shield to prevent the one shots. I mean, we cannot fully prevent the one shots, but they do happen much more rarely. So let's get into the build. What do we use? So guys, our main skill is galvanic shards, right? So this build is also convenient, guys, because mapping is done most of the time with a single button, right? Maybe rarely you would be using some other skill, but most of the time you will be using just one button. I suppose for bosses you might have to switch to shock burst rounds. So galvanic shards, guys, we have martial tempo, more attack speed, lightning infusion, more lightning damage, fork, ammo conservation, mobility. So ammo conservation is so we don't reload as frequently. The one good thing about this build, guys, is that mana is non-issue, right? You can almost pretend that mana doesn't exist because in order to get this level of energy shield, guys, we have to equip a lot of pure energy shield items like this, and they require a lot of intelligence. What does that mean? We have to have a lot of intelligence. What does that mean? We will have a lot of mana, even if we don't want it, right? And at 800 mana, we will have a regeneration of like 50 or so per second. In that time frame, that it takes us to empty the clip, right? We would be able to regenerate all the mana or almost all the mana. As you can see, I virtually have infinite. So guys, what I meant to say is, if you played Lightning Arrow, Deadeye, or any other character, the Lightning Arrow on patch 0.1, you would remember that mana is a huge problem, right? You would need at least one mana per kilojoule, probably 2%. And then you would also, want another source of mana per kill on your gear if possible. If not, it was able to be handled, but you do a few bad lightning arrows and you would be out of mana. You were not able to go too high level on the lightning arrows. If you went too high, your mana would go empty immediately, and you would have to use inspiration. As you can see, we don't use inspiration here, right? And you can go as high as you want on the galvanic shards, right? You could get level 30 and the mana would still not be a problem. That's beautiful, +3 from the amulet, as much as you can get from the crossbow, which is up to +7 in case you didn't know. Bows are +5, but crossbows are +7. And another thing is, guys, crossbows can have very, very high DPS compared to bows. So guys, the top tier, the best bows, the mirror bows, are in the neighborhood of 600 DPS, and mirror crossbows are in the neighborhood of, brace for it, 1,500, right? You can get very close to 1,500 DPS with crossbows, so they have a lot of damage. So our second most important ability is shock burst round. That is our boss killer. So what do we use in there? Concentrated effect, primal armament, elemental focus, deliberation, and close combat. So that means you go near the enemy to kill that. So we also will use the close thingy on Deadeye Ascendancies. So there is that. We have emergency reload, so we can do another shock burst rounds. This is a boss killer. So guys, this would kill map bosses, right? Shock burst rounds, emergency reload, shock burst rounds, and there is a combo I will explain. Emergency reload, we want ingenuity for lower cooldown, premeditation, and murderous intent. So what you want to do is, we'll get to that. So we have conductivity, persistence, focused curse, heightened curse. I'm sure you are used to this by now. These are classic curse supports. And finally we have arcane tempo. This can be skipped, of course, if you don't want to spend 25 exalted or something on it. We have wind dancer with blind and maim. I had a little bit of extra spirit lying around, so I use clarity. Clarity is absolutely optional. If you don't have that 10 spirit, you don't need it. We need a total of 35 additional spirit, and you can even go a little bit lower. I'll show you. We have Herald of Thunder. With patch 02, guys, they have introduced the unique strong boxes, lock boxes, and one of them is you open it repeatedly at the cost of 10 times increase in gold, 200 gold, 2,000 gold, 20,000 gold, 200,000 gold, and finally 2 million gold. Don't pay that. And thing is, those have a tendency to drop level 20 skill gems. So level 20 skill gems, which were worth like 6-7 divine in patch 01, are like 30 exalted now, right? If we compare the economies, that would be like 25 times lower than it used to be. Why? Because, as I said, those boxes are not very rare, and they pretty commonly drop level 20 spirit gems. I myself have found the box 4 or 5 times by now, and I have 2 level 20 spirit gems out of it, right? To put it into perspective. So they are very cheap, so you should immediately go for this. I was very hesitant because I thought it was going to be extremely expensive, right? I thought I was going to pay like 10 divine for it, and I take a look and it's 2 divine. I'm like, what the hell is this? How is this price possible? And yeah, then I realized Ventor's lockbox does the trick. So we have Inner Weight, we have Deadly Herald, that's additional spirit reservation, additional 20 spirit, long shot, magnified effect, and reach. I guess you can omit in this order, right? If you don't have the spirit, you can of course omit Deadly Herald, but I would not suggest that you do. Clarity is omittable. So, and the way that this goes is going to add up to 135 spirit. Let me just go over the last thing. We have Ghost Dance as the final thing. We have Fast Forward, Herbalism. So you might find this laughable, but it will make sense, right? Why do we have Herbalism? Why do we pay 15 spirit for this? And finally, we have precision. Of course, we can also let that go. It's not that big a deal. But thing is, guys, if you get an amulet with spirit, 35 is really very easy to reach. I think the lowest roll possible is like 30s or so, so it's very easily achievable. I had 45 or 46 in mind, so I also used, clarity. If I had any more, I would have gone for the 2% life on kill or 1% life regen thingies. Those are also possible. So okay, finally, guys, the only thing that we didn't talk about is Stormcaller Arrow. And you could now say Stormcaller Arrow is a bow skill and not a crossbow skill. What is it doing here? Yeah. So in the offhand weapon, we will have a bow. You will probably be able to tell. So Stormcaller Arrow, lasting shock, lightning exposure. So guys, this is not meant for damage, right? It is going to inflict the biggest, nastiest shock possible. That's why we have this. Conduction and strip away. I would not suggest getting a 6-socket one, right? If you want, you could put lightning mastery or whatever it is in it. So guys, thing is, I said this is not meant for damage, but you know that shock gets applied when you deal a decent bit of damage, right? So I'm not saying 1 damage, right? It should have decent damage, but you don't have to go out of your way to get a really good crossbow. What I myself did was, guys, I grabbed something that's worth about a divine, and that is reasonably enough for shock, 450 DPS or something. So it doesn't have to be really good. I also grabbed myself a 510 exalted quiver, sorry. And let me show you. So how much DPS is this? 460 DPS with some dexterity, blah blah. It doesn't really matter. It should have decent damage. I would suggest not going below 400 so you can reliably shock. And yeah, that kind of quiver, right? You could get a +2 projectiles, but that would be just too expensive. This one is, for example, it's like maybe like 5 exalted, right? It's no big deal. So this setup is worth it. It's pretty good because the normal shock that you inflict with your galvanic shards will disappear very quickly. So the thing with the boss killer ability, guys, the shock burst rounds, it does do that very nice damage only if the target is shocked. If the target is shocked, it will be just, you would be like pinching the guy, right? There would be no real damage. So you need the target to be shocked. And imagine you are firing 26 rounds, you are refilling them with emergency reload, and you are firing them again. That does kind of take more than the 4 seconds usual shock duration. So the shock will have to be more potent, right? Longer duration and more potent. So we will also, for the first time, I have used the different weapon set points. So guys, some stuff, for example, more attack damage, more area damage, that sort of stuff does not mean too much for the bow. And the increased shock duration, increased shock magnitude, etc., they don't mean much for the crossbow, right? So what you can do is you can work on increased shock chance, increased shock duration, increased shock magnitude, that sort of stuff on the bow, right? And regular damage, more damage, more attack damage, that kind of stuff we want on the crossbow. So the most important piece of our build is the crossbow. As you can imagine, it needs to be very high damage. So don't compare yours to mine. I was very, very lucky. Mine is insane. So when I got it, there was only one crossbow that was better in the entire game. That was for sale, and there still is. Mine is a whopping 1300 DPS with +3 projectiles. I mean, the fire is not very good, but yeah, we don't mind it too much. So take a look at this, 1300 DPS. And I'm going to even leave the projectiles out, and there is only the mirrored one that's better. Yeah, it's insane. So what you would want, guys, well, it obviously will vary on your budget, right? But this is your most important piece. So For example, if you have like 20 divine, I would dedicate no less than like 10 12 divine into this one, because this would be your spine, because as a Deadeye we are not very survivable. So what we would want is to kill them before they can kill us, right? We are not able to handle the damage that comes our way. At least on a long-term basis we can handle the few hits, but we cannot handle very lengthy fights. So for about one divine you can get your hands on about 800 DPS crossbows, right? And as you go up, 1000 DPS crossbows would be around 10 to 15 divine. So for example, if you have a budget of like 10 divine, you could be patient and you could probably get your hands on a 1000 DPS crossbow. So I would say 800 would be actually sufficient to do tier 15 maps, right? But the higher the better, because you will want to do pinnacle content, you will want to do bosses, you will get atlas points, and the bosses will be harder. You want to be able to do it all. So the better it is, for you. So I'm gonna go for the unique in the build. So we have Leopold's applause. We will have a lot of penetration, guys, and normally, as you know, penetration, while you need it, you don't want to invest too much in it, because penetration cannot actually make the resistance negative, right? You want lightning exposure for that. So for example, guys, if you have 50% lightning resistance pierce and the enemy has 30% lightning resistance, what your penetration would do is 30% of your penetration would penetrate the enemy's resistances down to 0, and 20% of your penetration would be wasted, right? So you don't want to overcommit. And thing is, guys, most monsters have 0 resistances, right? So rares could have a little bit of resistance, bosses to have a little bit of resistance, like 30 or so, but there is not too much resistance in the game, so you don't want to overinvest in penetration for sure. But with this item we can, because what it allows us to do is we can actually penetrate below 0%. So guys, we have, I think, like 85% or so, insane amount of penetration in this build. And so even a target with 30% lightning resistance will be penetrated down to -50, and we would be dealing 50% additional damage, right? It's pretty good. This is now down to a few divines, 3-4 divines would cut it. That's the price. So what about the rest of the build? So guys, it's a classic at this point. You want your resistances to be capped. Chaos can be not capped. Just go as high as you can on the chaos. Don't leave it at 10 though. The venom crits will give you 10. Don't leave it at 10. 10 could be very dangerous, right? I mean, poisons, bleeds, that sort of stuff will give you a lot of grief. As you can see, I managed to get it to 48. I actually wanted to go a little bit higher. Sadly, I had to use these 2 runes, right? I wanted to use +7 chaos resistance for above 60. Okay, I will again very unprofessionally do this trade. I'm sorry. These take a long while to sell, so if I find them, I sell. So what else do we have? So guys, as I said, this is a classic in all guys now. Definitely max your elemental resistances. And as you know, patches 0.20F has brought charm slots on the belts. Sadly, mine was acquired one day before the patch, and I got screwed by this, because I never thought they wouldn't allow us to divine these belts. I was planning on divining this belt to get 3 charm slots, and I couldn't. And as you can see, it has have pretty decent stats. So if I were to go for a 3 charm slot version of this one, I don't know how much it would cost. So there is that. So we want high energy shield, base, helmet, and boots, right? On the helmet we can have a decent amount of energy shield, so we definitely want our socket to be Great Iron Rune. Mine is, I would say, above average. in terms of energy shield, I wouldn't say it's very good, right? It can go, you know, upwards of 500. That's what you should go for. But it would be very expensive. So at this point, it's like 2 or 3 divine, right? 3 useful suffixes, decent amount of life, and an acceptable amount of energy shield. So, you know, around that level. As for the amulet, we definitely want 35 spirit, which should be easy to handle, and plus 3 projectiles, because as I said, mana is not a problem. So whatever we can get in terms of projectiles, we want to go for it. So yeah, and as you can see, I didn't manage to get any resistances because it was going to be very expensive, but we get some life, we get spirit, we get projectiles, and we get the attributes. At least the attributes are good. Keep in mind though that I have 20% quality, right? So that is increased. So this is again a few divine, 2 divine or something, I think. I don't exactly recall. The chest will have to be an evasion energy shield hybrid, because we want the energy shield us to defend against, you know, elemental damage, and we want to defend against physical damage with evasion. Because we don't have acrobatics in this build, this would add up to approximately 80% or thereabouts. Let me stack the tailwinds. 81%. As you can see, it's pretty nice, you know, just with 1 chest. And the rings should have as high flat damage as possible. As you know, the flat damage does get added to the weapon. So guys, this ring, what it does is it adds 12 minimum and 23 maximum physical damage to my weapon, and 1 minimum and 40 maximum lightning damage to my weapon, right? As if that damage gets added to my you know, ring. I have rarity here, I have a bit of mana, that was accidental, right? Attributes and resistances. Attributes are a bit of a problem, which we will get to. Again, attributes increase lightning damage, cold and lightning. Yeah, so cold is actually not very ideal, but it was a really good amount. That's the belt. And finally we have the boots. Again, a boot with high energy shield. As you can see, my boot and my helmet are both the 3rd best base, right? They could have been the best base and they could have had more energy shield, but then the intelligence requirement would have gone blown up. So there is a little bit of a trick, by the way, in case you didn't know this. So guys, as you can see, my helmet has 28 intelligence and it requires 118 intelligence, right? And take a look at my intelligence, it's 120. So how is that possible, right? Because I have 28 from this and I have enough intelligence to barely equip it. So the trick is, guys, you can change your attribute nodes in your passive tree to intelligence to have enough intelligence to equip this item. You then equip the item and you get its intelligence bonus. Then you can unspec the points in your tree so you don't overshoot the intelligence, right? This is especially important with this build because sadly we need it all. We need strength, intelligence, and dexterity. So we need the strength to equip the crossbow, and also for shock burst rounds and galvanic charge levels, because you know crossbow skills are strength hybrids, strength dexterity hybrids. So the crossbow with the highest amount of strength requirement is 116. So if you are using that crossbow, so for strength you should go for enough strength to use your crossbow and enough strength to do level 20 galvanic shards and shock burst rounds. And you can have reduced attribute requirements like I do. Sadly, it doesn't help too much because, guys, the highest strength requiring crossbow is 116, and sadly galvanic and shock burst require 112 strength each, so you cannot really save too much strength. As you can see, I was able to save 5 points here, right, because of the reduced attribute requirements, but that's it, right? So you need a minimum of 112 strength And if you are using a crossbow like mine without the attribute requirement reduction, you will need 116 total. For dexterity, we want 204 or 205. Which was it? 205 is the minimum amount because we wanna go level 20 dexterity gems and we wanna equip a decent enough bow, right? We wanna equip a decent enough bow so the bow can shock. You can get a little bit of help on that dexterity from the quiver because the quiver doesn't require anything. So for example, guys, you have, let's say, 180 dexterity and you get a quiver with plus 30, and then you can equip the best bows. I believe the highest dexterity requiring bows require 212, so you can handle it from the crossbow. You can get from the quiver, you can get 32 dexterity from it if you need. So there is that. And for intelligence, we will need as little as possible while equipping our energy shield, helmet, and boots. The highest amount of energy shield intelligence requirement on the helmet, I believe, is like 139. So you should get a lot of intelligence from your gear, so you don't have to overshoot. And one thing when you are doing these attribute shenanigans is, guys, attributes, intelligence, strength are meaningful to you as long as you have some of those nodes in your passive tree to respect. So for example, guys, let's see. So for example, I have strength nodes, which means if I get more strength, I can switch these into dexterity, right? So strength is meaningful for me, right? Intelligence is still meaningful for me. I have 4 more nodes. So guys, but if I were to get 25 intelligence, that wouldn't free up 25 dexterity. Why? Because there is not a 5th attribute, intelligence attribute node on my tree, right? You have to be careful about that. So you should be going for a happy combination of all attributes, strength and intelligence, instead of intelligence, because the last few intelligence could be meaningless. So take a look at this, guys. I have a strength here, I have strength and dexterity here, I have all attributes here, I have intelligence and intelligence here. Imagine what happened if I went intelligence, intelligence, intelligence and intelligence, right? So I have room for 20 more intelligence. If I had gotten more than 20 intelligence from these 2 rings, it would have been meaningless, right? You have to pay attention to that. Keep in mind that the jewels can be corrupted for attributes, but extremely risky because your jewel could be kind of gone, right? It could remove the most important modifier on it. So there is that. Okay, so as for the passive tree, let's get into it, guys. So this is the first time I'm using it. So you might see these green faint lines here, right? There should be a few more here. There is another there. Yeah, some more here. So guys, what does this mean? This means these points are only active when I'm using the second weapon slot. So for example, let me switch to the second weapon slot. Okay. As you can see, now they are active, and these ones are denoted with red. They are inactive, right? So guys, red means the first weapon set and green means the second weapon set. And as you can imagine, the second weapon set is based on shocking. Take a look at this: increased chance to shock, increased magnitude of shock, shock duration, increased magnitude of shock, etc., etc. So the idea is, guys, to create a really whopping shock, and we can, right? You'll see shock is by default 20% increased damage taken, and ours is like 48% damage taken with a like 15-second duration or something. It's insane, right? It doesn't expire. So guys, what we do is, for normal enemies, we just galvanic our way, right? For bosses, what we want to do is we want to hypothermia them, right? And also we shoot our Stormcaller arrow at them. So Stormcaller arrow goes off after a certain time. Let me fire one here. It's gonna go off, and this will create a big shock, right? So you do this, and then they will be shocked, and they will also have their resistances reduced with conductivity, and then we just do this nuke, 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 nuke. When the clip is about empty, we do emergency reload and nuke, 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 and that should definitely kill the bosses, right? So for Pinnacle, it will depend on your gear, but for normal bosses, it should definitely kill them, yeah. So about the jewels, let me show you. So guys, I had a bit of survivability problems, right? So I went for defensive. So you could use emeralds for more damage, or you could use sapphires for more survivability. So we don't go for crit. So crit nodes are not really very important for us. I mean, crit modifiers are not really very important for us in the sapphire jewels. So what I went for is, guys, we can only get one offensive stat meaningfully, that is elemental damage. So we get as high as energy shield and elemental damage as possible while trying to get additional important stuff. One of the weaknesses of this build is stun, guys. We can get stunned pretty hard. We can get stun locked and die. So I went for gain additional stun threshold equal to energy shield, right? 1% life on kill is useful. Again, energy shield, elemental damage, stun threshold, and 4% damage taken is mana before life. So mana is a meaningful stat for us, right? We don't ever run out of mana. I drink that mana flask extremely rarely, unless some rare drains my mana. So damage taken from mana before life is beautiful, right? It is more survivability. Again, maximum cold resistance. Yeah, it's an additional layer of survivability. Why not, right? And finally, that's the fourth and last one. Again, same deal. So you might have noticed that I am investing a lot into anti-stun mechanics. Yeah, so we need that because we can get stun locked and killed. So this is the 3, right? And I'm 94 right now. 95 is this. I think that will finally complete the build. And so if you can get your hands on a 3-slot charm, guys, that would be pretty nice, right? Sadly, mine is 1, and as you can see, I can't even divine it. So if you can get your hands on a 3 charm slot belt, we want the anti-freeze charm, we want the anti-stun charm, and we want the anti-slow charm. If you have the currency, you could go for the unique anti-slow charm that clears slows from you and also grants you onslaught, increase movement and increase skill speed both at once. That's pretty good, but it's somewhat expensive. I believe it's around 10 divine. So these are our Ascendancy points. It's a bit of a classic at this point. You start with Tailwind, then you grab Point Blank. You can do more damage when you are close. Then we go for the additional projectile and the munitions, and finally we finish it off with Wind Ward. That gives us 3% less damage taken per Tailwind. When Tailwind is fully stacked, we will have 30% reduced damage. And you should always calculate your, evasion with, full stacked Tailwind and full stacked Wind Dancer. You could say that isn't that conditional. The thing is, guys, the way the build is meant to be played, you should always have these on you, and when they hit you, just double back a little bit and stack these again. We have 81% evasion, we have some accidental 2% armor, and at this point I have 3300 energy shield. If I can upgrade my helmet into a 550 or so energy shield one while having the relevant and decent stats, I will be able to hit 4k. Then we would become really survivable. At this point we are fine, right? Recently I did change a little bit and I added like 500 energy shield to the character, and it made a difference, right? Because the one shots were, I think, very close, and I found myself surviving on very low HP, and of course, we can just come back immediately. One thing that I haven't mentioned is we have only one keystone here, that is Eternal Youth. Again, more survivability, guys. So instead of our energy shield, our life regens, right? So, if you don't take damage for 4 seconds, your life fills. So that is, of course, a huge drawback because, energy shield is meant to protect our life, right? And we want that one to regenerate. So that is the disadvantage part, right? It's not the advantage part. The advantage is life recovery from flasks applies to energy shield instead. So, guys, my energy shield depletes. I drink a flask and it fills, right? And that's why we have that herbalism thingy in Ghost Dance, right? So guys, I have around 2000 recovery from here. I have a few bonuses, so this gives me more than 2600 healing, which recovers my energy shield to full. There is one alternative here that you can use. You can use a flask with not increased amount recovered, but some percentage of healing done instantly, right? It can go up to 30%. Those are pretty nice, because what mine is for is, guys, it's for sustained damage. But thing is, the thing that kills us is burst damage, so I think that could be better. You would want 30% healing done instantly, and max charges sort of thing. You could go for the unique flask, which is very good and also very expensive. But the problem with it is it can only be drank like 3 times, so it could give you a little bit of grief in ignited ground maps or something where you constantly have to take damage. You can try it. The mana flask is kind of a non-entity, right? I just have it, but as I said, we don't really flask up too much. Mana is a bit of a non-problem. So guys, the shock burst rounds and conductivity actually have terrible mana cost. So how do I not run out of mana? The way that we don't run out of mana is we kill fast, and we use these abilities like twice or thrice and we kill, right? That's how we don't run out of it, right? Galvanic shards is cheap, so yeah, that's how we do it. And of course, showcase. Okay, let me go to this boss map. This is a rather big map. Okay, 6 modifier tier 15 map, guys. Keep in mind, in 6 modifier maps, we do not have revive rights. If I die, I die, right? The map closes. Hopefully I won't. It would be a little bit embarrassing, but yeah, could happen. And again, it's almost 40 minutes. God. Okay. So guys, as you can see, I don't have to switch, but if your crossbow is, somewhat lacking, you can switch to shock burst rounds to kill the bosses. The one problem with shock burst rounds is, guys, it's randomly targeting, sort of. It's a little bit of a weird skill, and if you did not isolate the rare, it could suck a little, right? Make sure you have isolated the rare, and all targets are shocked, right? If it's not shocked, it's not going to do damage. Okay. As you can see, mana is absolutely a non-issue. Okay, let me also, I guess I can demonstrate to you on the boss. So guys, take a look at this. My energy shield has taken a bit of damage, but it doesn't regenerate because of eternal youth, right? I have to drink my flask to regenerate it. So when your energy shield takes damage, just drink your flask. Okay, that was accidental. I need to pick that up. Okay, let's go. So this, by the way, we have all the Atlas points for the bosses, so this will be boss difficulty 4. I mean, I don't have all, but I have all the difficulty points, so this will be max difficulty boss. Keep in mind, guys, if the map has a boss, the map finishing condition has been changed. You don't have to kill all the rares anymore. You can just kill the boss and be done with the map. There is one problem with that approach, though, guys. If you die when fighting the boss, then you will be able to use your revive rights. I mean, I don't have any revive rights, but if I had revive rights, I would have been able to use them, but it clears the map of all other contact, right? So I think that's why it's a better idea to engage the boss last. They have advertised this. I have been trying this, guys. Yeah, it doesn't help. Okay, be very careful with those plant thingies, guys. I'm sure you know. If you don't, I mean, they deal a level of damage that is not expected of them. One of them would probably almost deplete my energy shield, and the second would kill me or give me a near-death experience. Okay, as you can see, they are always on me, right? Wind Dancer and what's the name again? Wind Dancer and Tailwind stacks, both. Okay. And there is something weird, guys. Let's say you engage the boss, you kill the boss, but you then died after engaging the boss, right? During while doing normal contact. Everything gets removed from the map. That's very silly, but that's how it works. So it's a better idea to leave the boss as the last. I mean, unless you are very certain of your character's power, but you know, never be too sure in Path of Exile. Right? Okay. Let me just. Yes. Yeah, my filter is a little bit lenient. Okay. So this is also an irradiated area, so the area is level 80. Okay. Let's get to the boss. I will do that thing I actually cautioned against. If I find the boss, I won't double back. But, you know, earlier days, I would definitely suggest doubling back. There's the boss. I thought we had a boss on the map. Oh, it is there, okay. Let's go. So as you can see, you know, tier 15 maps are easy. So guys, what about instilling maps, right? If you are curious about that. I mean, this has been a long video. Let's just discuss everything. Instilling maps, I would say you would be fine up to like 40% or so delirium with a crossbow. That's really good, right? If the crossbow is not really good, 20 to 25% delirium is definitely fine at boss time. So guys, let me do it. Okay. Oh, it's the executioner fella. Okay. We first, come on, buddy. We first do this. We first then do this. And now he's stunned. I reload, and he's dead. See? Oh, beautiful. Yeah, but as I said, my crossbow is it. But and as you guys see, guys, that boss killer ability is suffering against these. Why? Because they are not shocked, right? So it is not good against targets that are not shocked. They need to be shocked. So you just saw the combo, right? I do the hypothermia, then I do the Stormcaller arrow. They sadly both take a little bit of time to kick in. Wait for both of them to kick in. Just observe the shock icon and the conductivity, not hypothermia, sorry. Conductivity icon on top of the boss, and then you can start firing away the shock burst rounds. Then you refresh it with emergency reload, and then you do it again, and you should be killing, right? So if you do the full combo and they survive, it might be time to consider a better crossbow. Whatever skills that you can get is fine. You can get a level 21 skill gem, you can get +3 on damage, you can get +7 on the weapon. Just whatever you can get is fine. You could consider, I mean, that would be very hard to procure, but you could consider a +3 load galvanic shards, prism of belief from the arbiter. Yeah, I mean, it's a risk because we don't have like 10 what's the name, jewel slots anymore like in patch 01. We will have like 4 or 5 jewel slots in an endgame build. They have reduced the amount of jewel slots that are in the tree. They also moved the existing ones, the remaining ones, a little bit further away, so you have to spend a little bit more points to get them. So there is that. One last thing I want to mention is, as I said again, this has been a huge video. I just can't do short videos, guys. I just wanna, you know, explain everything, and then it takes a long time. So I'm guessing that some of you will ask for a guide. So let me do this carrot on a stick for you. If the video reaches 20 likes, I shall do an in-depth guide on mobilitics, I guess. And yeah, we'll see that. We'll see about that. So if the guide reaches 20 likes, I will do that. And I guess that's about it to say. So about Path of Building, one last PS. So guys, Path of Building is a little bit clunky at this time. I don't use it at all, right? I don't want to, you know, copy and paste my items one by one, but I will include a link to my character on PoE2.ninja, so you can see my skills, gems, gear all at once instead of having to sift through the video. So as I said, the build is coming when and if the video reaches 20 likes. So I will see you on stream. Bye bye.